Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. This is episode 126. It's for the week of May 23rd, 2021. I'm your host, Drew. Sitting across from me in the wide blue yonder of the internet is a very hydrated Will.
Dude, I am wildly hydrated. Look at the size of this thing.
Dude, it is bigger than your face.
It's got timestamps on it. Thank you, Amazon.
It has... Wait. Seriously?
Yeah, so it says 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and so on until 9 p.m., and then it's got your ounce labels right here. This is 1 gallon of water.
So, did you start the day with that filled?
Well I'm doing right there.
See, I just always top mine off, so I would never be able to do that.
So this is day 2 using this thing. I've had it longer than 2 days, but my God, it's awkward. I look ridiculous having it, but I've been struggling with water recently. Normally I don't, but I really have been, and I know how important it is. I'm a believer that a lot of water is definitely more than just hydrating. It's nourishing for so many different other aspects of your well-being. So yeah, it's I honestly feel better after drinking this much water, and I try to not look like a child by drinking out of it, so I hold it like this, like a man, because the other option is this.
But you're still sipping out of a straw, so either way, you still look like a child.
Yeah, so touche. I have to use this straw because the other cap that comes with it is just like a regular spout. But then I guess I could do one of these with the spout, but I just feel like I would have to two-hand it, and then I just look like an absolute asshole. Or maybe like a barbarian is a better term.
But I mean, I think if I were to like tip the whole thing forward, I'd be worried about it just like all over my face, just water everywhere.
Yeah,
You know?
I prefer the straw. And what's kind of neat too is it flips down and then it just pops right back up again, so it doesn't like ruin the straw. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I love it, man.
We already have some water advice in our Twitch chat. Epic Outro is saying the key is to put the straw in the corner of your mouth while looking really angry.
Dude, that's not a bad idea.
Can you give us one of those, please?
Sure. Okay, here we go.
Hold on. There we go. Love it.
You like screenshot it?
Oh, no. I mean, yes.
Hey, It's fine, man. Just make sure you send it to me. Because I will find a way to post it somehow.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
Dude,
man.
how are you, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm tired. I'm still recovering from a weekend of debauchery. And by weekend of debauchery, I mean like just really just alcohol. Nothing else. Like we're boring. We didn't do anything crazy, but we went on a delayed bachelor party for Vic, who technically got married last year, but is going to have a full wedding this July. And so it was me, Vency, and myself, better known as Vortex and Lost Monkey. And we went out to Newport for a couple days. Went on a booze cruise. I had like 5 rum punches in the span of like 60 minutes. It was absurd.
Oh, Lord.
What else did we do? We had a lot of lobster and seafood, which was great. I got to go on the cliff walk and, see all the mansions from afar. We went in Fort Adams, which is really cool. What else did we do? Oh, we went to like this go-kart place. It's called R1. And they have go-karts, they have axe throwing, they have like escape rooms, but it's like they call it like time zone. It's kind of, some of it was hokey, some of it was really fun. But it's all like these challenges where you're supposed to like get a high score. And when we left, our team had the highest score. So
okay,
I'm proud of that.
Represent.
But man, it was just nice to kind of get away and not have the cats up my ass.
Man, you're telling me, dude. You're telling me. Have you done an escape room before?
Yes, I've done a proper one before. This one, I wouldn't call these proper escape rooms because they were more like score based and they really weren't like riddles and puzzles. But there was one that I did in New Haven with my good friends John and Andrew a few years ago, and I used to play D&D with those guys. Mm-hmm. So like you put a puzzle in front of us and we're like, solve it, let's go. And man, it was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do like one of those again.
They're pretty fun. I did one in Middletown forever ago for like a little work trip.
You should.
And, yeah.
We should do it again, man. Like we should get a group of people to go and just make it happen. So yeah. Anyway, let's just give a quick shout out to the chat room. All right. Give me 1 second. I think we're having some technical difficulties. Will, are you there? Stand by. Will, you with me? appreciate it. Hey, okay, my microphone was off still. This is great. So, Will is having some networking issues at the moment, and should be back now, son of a bitch. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Boy. I tell you, these past 2 weeks for technical issues have been infuriating. So I am waiting for Will to rejoin me. He is having some issues with his computer. He should be back shortly. But in the meantime, thank you everybody who's here, who's putting up with this this crazy moment. Last week was a nightmare. This week is kind of starting out to be the same as well. So Neuromancer 9K, son of a bitch, epic outro. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here, guys. We really appreciate it. And thanks for putting up with the tech issues that we're having. How is everybody doing tonight? You guys having a good week so far? I know it's only Monday. Tell me what kind of games you've been playing. What's been going on in your lives? Let's just have a little talk. Talk a little bit about some games. Anything new? Son of a Bitch is going to be at Retro World Expo in a couple months. That's exciting. Looking forward to hopefully visiting him there at his table. Will is in the process of restarting his computer. So we are having a good time here. Epic Outro has been playing Resident Evil Village. Dave, tell me about that. How are you enjoying that game so far? I've been playing mostly MLB The Show lately. I didn't really have too much time to play games this week, unfortunately, with everything that's been going on, with the trip out of Newport. So not too much time with gaming there, and actually spent most of the week gardening, prepping my yard for this season's plantings, which we have in the ground. So Village is a flawless mix of Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7. That's interesting. I know 4 is pretty beloved amongst most people. And 7 has been told to be kind of a good starting point if you're getting back into the franchise for the first time. Or at least that's my understanding. Lots of atmosphere, action, not as many scares, but the scares present are top-notch. Do you think this is something that you would want to play in VR at any point? If you think this would be a good VR game, let me know. We're waiting for Will to rejoin us. Sounds like he may be here. Will, you are loaded. Will,
can you hear me?
Will, I can hear you. I'm going to unmute you for the rest of the audience.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring you in. Hey, everybody, there's Will again.
Here I am. Here, hang on. Just for you, Dave.
Will, just a quick
That was weird.
Quick question. Did you restart GarageBand by any chance?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to hit record because it is still loading.
Okay, cool.
But I saved the first part of it, so
victory. That's all that matters. You're already better than I was last week.
Yeah, man, it was really weird. Everything was connected. It was just the iMac, so I don't know what was going on.
Your face kind of froze in like this. I don't know how else to explain
Testing
it.
1, 2.
And I didn't realize it at first because I was talking to you and you weren't responding. It was very, very confusing for me.
Yeah, I actually thought it was you because you froze. And I was like, all right, well, not again. And then it was me. And I was like, oh, crap, I can't connect. Even with the Wi-Fi password, it just wasn't taking it. So I was like, this is going to be a restarting situation.
Well, we made it work. I had a nice conversation with Jimmy and Dave.
Awesome.
We talked all kinds of garbage about you.
Hey, it's expected.
All right. Before we have any more tech issues, let me just introduce the show. We are Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. We are live on Twitch Mondays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We stream with technical problems on a regular basis, so if that's your thing, come on by and say hello. Of course, you can find us on the web at www.wdgrpodcast.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Find us on YouTube at WDGR Podcast. Will, if somebody would like to check out your tunes, what is the best way for them to do that?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. And quick shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, including Neuromancer9K. Keith, thank you for stopping by. Last Son of Bob, Nick Naylor from Salt City Games, and of course Data Dive, best known as Shannon Willis. So we really appreciate you guys supporting the site. Thank you for being a part of our Patreon producers. If you'd like to sign up for Patreon, you can do so. $5 a month. It'll get you an extra episode every month. For the month of May, we covered Street Fighter, the movie, in depth. And for June, it's the recent Mortal Kombat 2021 version. And we dive into that. And man, that was a fun show to record.
Oh, yeah, it was. It absolutely was.
I just started the edit for that today. And already enjoying it thoroughly. So
yeah, it's cool. I mentioned it to a few folks just outside of the community, and a lot of people have seen it, which is kind of pleasing to know.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people, I think, because they have HBO Max, they've taken advantage of it and given it a shot. People that probably wouldn't have otherwise watched it if it was a theatrical release only.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Where would you like to start?
It's a chunky episode, Drew.
It is.
Let's take a look at our list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Well, why don't we? So we've pretty much wrapped up the bachelor party weekend, right?
Yeah. There really isn't much to say there.
Why don't you tell us about your gardening updates?
Yeah, I kind of started talking about that a little bit while you were restarting, but we needed to do a new fence out in the garden, and the one that we had was it was an old hand-me-down fence that my father had gotten from a neighbor before he moved away. So it held up pretty good for the first year, and then the second year it really started kind of wearing. Lots of holes in it. Animals were getting in. So I wanted to do a new fence this year, and I was going to try to do something with wood, but it really was just not cost effective. It didn't fit in the budget, and I don't really have the knowledge. I'm sure I can figure it out, but I'm not like a woodworker or anything like that. So what we decided to do was get some livestock fencing, just galvanized steel, like chicken wire kind of stuff, some new posts, and put those in the ground, and it's much nicer, much neater looking. I think it's way more secure than the other one was. And then that was a whole day process because I had like this lower patch fence that I had put in on the bottom to try and keep like rabbits and squirrels from getting in. But I had tied it to the original fence so well that I just couldn't get it apart. So I struggled with it for 2 hours. And then taking all the old fencing off was a bit of a hassle because a lot of the grass had grown in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that really thick grass, like if you let grass grow too long, it kind of gets like beefy, right?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of shit that'll like break your weed whacker blade. So that was a struggle. And eventually I was able to get that, the grass out of the fencing and get the fencing up, use a rototiller to till the whole thing. And then we planted our plants, and we have a pretty full array of things that we're going to be growing this year. Some various tomatoes we have cherry tomatoes, we have beefsteak tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes. We're doing yellow squash, zucchini. We're doing spaghetti squash for the first time. Never done that before. Eggplant, we've never done before. Cucumbers, jalapenos, green peppers, red peppers. And then we bought 2 raised beds to put near our deck, which we're going to put herbs in. So I put together one of the raised beds today just to kind of see how it would look. But I have to dig out. There's like all this gravel where those are going to go. I have to dig all the gravel out, and then we have to buy enough soil to backfill it. and not only to backfill the hole that I'm going to dig out, but also to fill the actual garden itself. So we got a lot of work to do. I'm hoping to have it all together by this weekend. We also had somebody come by and grind all the tree stumps out. So there are no,
Oh, thank God.
there are no more tree stumps in my yard, Will.
No more vendettas.
No more vendettas.
Dude, that is a tall lineup in terms of what you guys have on the horizon here for the garden.
Yeah. It's a lot of work the first day. Like, I mean, this year was, kind of an extreme because I redid the whole fence. And essentially I did it by myself, not that I'm throwing shade at Nikki, but she wasn't home for it. She had to be at work and it had to get done. Mm-hmm. So I did most of the work on my own. And, it took an entire day. And it was a lot of hard work, but under normal circumstances, all the hard work is in the front end and it's just maintenance after that. Whether it's just planting something or building a new fence, you're doing all that hard work once. And then from here, it's just basically watering. Every couple days, go out and you pull some weeds, and then you harvest.
Dude, your vegetable yields are absurd.
Mm-hmm. We are trying to kind of find the right sweet spot, I guess you would say, for the amount of plants that we're growing versus the amount of fruit that we get that two people can actually eat.
Sure.
And we had trimmed the list down quite a bit. And then Nikki's like, oh, I want to do spaghetti squash. Like, why? And then she's like, oh, I want to do eggplant. I'm like, why? So now all these plants that we had gotten rid of, we've just replaced them with something else. So I don't know. But
I'm excited, man. The Kosalik garden is quite the Garden of Eden of vegetables and occasionally fruits, because a tomato is a fruit technically, right?
On a technicality, yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, it belongs in the vegetable family.
Yeah, it's a goddamn vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not biting into a tomato, on the regs like I would with an orchard apple.
I will say though, biting into a fresh tomato that you've just picked off the vine is one of the best fucking things you could ever do.
Are we talking like a beefsteak tomato or like a grape tomato?
Yes, both. It really doesn't. Okay. It doesn't matter. Just like sometimes I would just go out to my garden with a salt and pepper shaker in my hand. I just pull one right off the vine, rub it on the shirt.
Oof,
it's really good.
That is some earthy ventures right there.
Yeah,
I like it.
We don't use any chemicals or anything. It's completely organic. I know exactly where it came from. It doesn't get any better.
It doesn't, man. I thought about you kind of tilling your soil when I was at work today. I was like, man, hopefully I get to experience something close to that when I come over for the Memorial Day party.
Yeah,
I know we won't be tilling that day, but
I mean, if you'd like to.
Everybody comes over there like, is Will tilling the yard?
I can get you a little patch of land.
I'm just over there just I just want to be able to do that once, man. I want to till something.
Yeah, well, we usually do it the weekend after Mother's Day. So mark your calendar. And then, like, tilling is easy and hard at the same time because you're not really doing anything. You're just holding on for dear life and letting the tiller do all the work. But that thing, you have to hold on,
Oh, yeah. I bet your forearms kind of get a workout from that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You kind of get 24th. Like this like stance.
Yeah.
And you
just have to hold it. You have to hold that stance.
Right. Oh, man. So anyway, that's about it for me, man. I have not had a chance to play too much this weekend. I played a little bit of MLB The Show this morning. I've been trying to do like these moments that can help you unlock packs. So like there might be something where it's like a historical thing where Babe Ruth hits a home run in the first inning of a game. You have to duplicate that and you get some bonus points. So I've been going through those and trying to accumulate as much as I can. And then they release new ones every month based on like some awesome stuff that happened during that month of baseball. So, maybe it's something like where a pitcher has to close a game without anybody getting a hit, or maybe it's, hitting a triple play or whatever the case is. So that's been fun. But outside of that, man, like I really just, with the garden and the trip to Newport, like I have not had much time for video games whatsoever.
You and me both, man. It's been a busy busy couple months for I think both of us, and I think we're finally, hopefully, getting to the point where we can just hunker down and play some games again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see here that it looks like you may have expanded on the PS5 library.
I have, sir.
Can you tell us about that?
I will elaborate. Yes. So Tom discovered that I didn't own Demon Souls throughout a text message that we had, I think, last week. Earlier on in the week, I had said to him, actually, I said, I'm trying to decide right now between Returnal or Demon Souls. And he goes, wait, you don't even have Demon Souls yet? And I was like, no, man, I just got the system. I don't want to chill in the bank account a little bit so Laura doesn't freak out. And he's like, well, dude, like, maybe you'll have it by Friday, like, wink, wink. And I was like, oh boy, don't you tempt me, man. Don't you tempt me. And I got really excited. I was like, oh, dude, like, come on, man. Like, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, you'll have it by Friday. I'm like, oh, dude, thank you so much. Like, you don't understand like how much this means to me because like him and I have been playing that game for so long, and we played it back in, I think it was 2011 is I think when I first started it, and I didn't start it with him, but eventually I went through pretty much all the Souls games with Tom. The only game that we have not completed together is Bloodborne. So we have this sort of like timeline, going through these games together in the co-op mode. So he got it for me. And there was an ultimatum kind of behind it, though. Like there was conditions had to be made.
Of course.
The condition was that I have to wake up early. And when I say early, it's Tom early. This dude gets up early and he goes to bed early. So the condition was Sunday mornings, every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. He entertained 7. I was like, you know what, dude? I think it's going to have to be 8. Sunday, I don't get up that early. Unless it's a weekday or whatever. So every Sunday, 8 a.m., we have to play from 8 to like 10, 12, whatever it is, depending on what we have going on. And I agreed. I was like, absolutely, dude. You're buying me like a $70 game. I'll be there at 8 sharp every Sunday, no matter what. So that's what we're doing. We played Sunday. It's a very familiar game, but it's also very different. And I think to kind of keep it short, sweet, they didn't alter too much, but what they have altered is obviously the visuals, the fidelity there is insane. I've never seen such a crisp-looking game before. I've spoken very highly about games like Uncharted 4 and Last of Us and some of those really good-looking games, but Demon Souls, I think, may take the contender now for the best visual game I've seen, at least to date. And there's good reason for that. It's a PS5 exclusive. They didn't cut any corners here. Blue Point. And the sound is incredibly impressive as well. Like when he launches his magic, it sounds like something from LucasArts or Skywalker sound, man. It's just incredible. And we both were playing with the same headset. So there's arguments that you're not really experiencing the Tempest 3D audio that the PS5 has, but a lot of people are saying they don't need a compatible headset for that. But whatever we were experiencing, it sounded tremendous. It sounded like it was all around us. So sound-wise and visual-wise, spectacular. Gameplay-wise, super smooth. Trying to think of what else. It's just different. Like, it's just the character models and the faces, they're so much more detailed and they move differently. Like, you can see their eyes and their nose, and everything has, like, an animation to it. And the 2009 title, that was I think a launch game for the PS3, it still holds up, but compared to this, it's night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. In the chat, Son of a Fitch is saying Demon Souls Remake was my first Souls game I got anywhere in, let alone beat super solid.
Yeah, I mean, we're not that far in. We've only played a little bit. Like I beat the first boss of my own, which you have to do to summon other people and for you to be summoned as well. And that was not that challenging because I've done it like 10 times before. The layout is the same. And then now we're struggling beating a pretty difficult boss. It's a spider boss. I can't remember her name or what the spider boss name is, but it's challenging. There's still a strong challenge that exists within Demon Souls, and I like that. I think that it's going to be tough, and it's a game that you generally, if you play on your own, you're going to die a lot. If you play with somebody else, you're going to die less, and the simple reason behind that is because you have help. And that's just kind of how we play. We don't play solo and just like sit in a party and like chat the whole time. We like to play together. And it takes longer because when we're done playing one world in say like my world, we then have to do it again in his world. So once he summons me, then I'm helping him. and then then I have to summon him to help me with my world. So you're basically doing everything twice.
That's interesting, because I expected it to be kind of like a shared world, you know?
No.
Huh.
No, it's not how they're done. I mean, the co-op system, it isn't even really a co-op game, but you can make it a co-op game because of the summoning system.
Okay.
So intentionally, or ideally rather, they set this summoning system up for help. Like if you're stuck on a boss or you're stuck in a particular area of a world, you can summon a stranger in Texas or one of your buddies to help you out with that area. But I don't know if it was really ever intended to play throughout the whole game with the same person. But it is possible. It just takes a little bit more work.
So if you're going, let's say, for example, Tom is in your world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he leveling up with you? Is he acquiring items with you at the same time? Or is everything that drops like exclusive to your character?
It's exclusive to me. I believe he might get some souls.
I think we're having some technical issues again, Will. Oh, boy. Stand by. All right, we are back. Will is back with us once again from Reboot Hell.
Dude, this is the Hans Gruber Memorial Soundstage. This should not be happening right now.
It should not be.
I appreciate the love, Dave.
Oh, man. Anyway.
So where were we? Demon Souls. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess just to kind of wrap it up, I mean, I'm just really happy with it, dude. Like, this is a game that means a lot to me. I really enjoyed the original. I still can't believe they remade this game. I mean, this is a game that was considered a failure when it first launched, and it didn't do too well until the cult classic just kind of caught on, and then, Dark Souls kind of started the rest of that history, or legacy, rather.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just nice to see a really special game in my eyes and in my library come back with such a strong remake and have it be a PS5 launch title. I think that's really cool to see. But I'm excited to spend more time with it and spend it with, a really good friend of mine that enjoys it as much as I do. Apparently he's already played it like 4 or 5 times, which is just, I don't know how he does it because he has such a limited time in the game. But that's what he's done. But yeah, it's an intense game. They've added so many more environmental sound effects that it's actually really scary now. The first one was scary at times, but like I'm genuinely frightened when I go into areas now because there's all these new sounds that they've added. So
Right.
for folks that have played the original, you'll understand. For folks that are just heading in now, it's just going to feel like a new game to you.
Yeah. I just fired up some video that I had downloaded for another segment of our show, and just the game looks gorgeous, just absolutely stunning. I wish I was a fan of these types of games. I would love to play it. Maybe this is the one I need to play to get me in. I don't know.
It's an infuriating experience, though, Drew. So I worry that, given the fact that you and I actually do have a tough time with some of those sorts of games, I think I've just built up a tolerance for these games. But when it comes to Sekiro and some other challenging games, sometimes I get pretty pissed. So
I feel like Sekiro would probably be more to my liking because at least I have the world building behind it that interests me. The world building for Demon Souls doesn't really interest me.
Yeah, it's pretty medieval. It's got that whole vibe and aesthetic, big castles and stuff like that. So if you're not into like dragons or fantasy, then you might not enjoy that in terms of that sort of universe. But I've always liked knights, just kind of being a kid and stuff. So I always dress up and create my character based on what you see here in the video. Kind of like the sort of like, the model character that they have for all the advertisements. I like to wear all that fluted armor and stuff.
Absolutely.
I like to feel like a knight. Even though that, like, when you're a knight, you're heavy, you're clunky. Like, you usually have to do the whole sword and board thing. But
yeah,
that's what I'm used to. That's how I started playing these games.
Right. Are you going to be going to any of the Renaissance fairs this year, Will?
Absolutely not. I don't. This is like my limit right here. Like, this is the only like medieval fantasy stuff that I enjoy is like Skyrim, Lord of the Rings, and like the Soul series.
Yep.
But yeah, the Renaissance fairs and stuff, I actually think that those are ridiculous.
Yeah, not for me either. I'm with you there.
No, my sister and brother-in-law and some of their friends went and they took pictures, and I was just like, I can't take this seriously. I'm sorry.
Oh man. So
yeah, overall, I think it's 10 out of 10 so far, but I need to play way more of it. I mean, I've really just dipped my toes in here. So,
you also bought Returnal, apparently, huh?
I did. I was on the fence about it for at least a week or two, just because I was doing more research and I didn't want to buy another game, but it just looked too good, man. All the research that I did, including one of those Digital Foundry videos, they do such a good job talking about games, and that sold me on it yesterday afternoon. I watched that and I was like, you know what, I think it's time. And I actually had some Amazon credit that I didn't even know that I had. Like, it was from like a return, and I was like, ooh, now I only have to pay for like a third of the game.
Nice.
So that's exactly what I did. I bought a $75 digital like points gift card on Amazon and used the points towards that, and then just paid the rest with my money. But yeah, it's installed. You use the app. And I didn't get a chance to play last night because I was exhausted. But after the show, that game is getting played, Drew.
Nice. Yeah, I want to try this game too. Basically, what I need to do is just like spend the night at your house and just play your PS5 all night and not sleep.
Sure. I mean, honestly, this is going to sound kind of funny, but I said to Lauren the other night, I was like, you know what? I think we have to start staying up later because we're not getting enough time to do what we want to do. Because like, even on a Tuesday, when we get home, we get settled and dinner's made and we've washed up and all that kind of stuff, fed the cats, all the adulting's out of the way, we generally like to hang out with each other. And by the time that that's done, it's hard to get to a game afterwards because I get tired. So I'm trying to work on staying up until like at least 10:30, 11. But it's challenging sometimes. It all depends on my energy levels.
Yeah, man. I totally get it. And, I wake up 4:30 for work. On my days off, I don't really stray from that too much. I'll try to maybe get up at 5:30 instead. Because if I start screwing my sleep, I'll just start, sleeping later and later. And next thing you know, I'm struggling when I have to go back to work to get up on time. So like I've dabbled with, staying up a little bit later and going to bed like, even 10 o'clock. And it sucks. Like
it can bite you in the ass.
It really can,
sometimes I get away with it and it feels like I didn't do it, but then other times I feel it the next day and I don't feel it sometimes until I get to work and I sit down. I'm like, oh shit, I
Mm-hmm.
made a mistake last night and now I have to pay for it.
Yeah, we're getting old, bro.
I know, dude. It's I talk about this with so many people. It's not just you and I. So if anybody listening to the show thinks that we're all dirtbags, trust me, when you get to this age, it's quite typical that you just can't hack it as much as you could when you were in your 20s or your teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal is I want to try and stay up later and make more time for game throughout the week or gaming throughout the week.
Mm.
And then on the weekends, I need to start capitalizing because it's really my only shot when we don't have anything going on.
Yeah. Take advantage of the time you can, man. Totally.
So that's the plan is I want to hack basically these two games or juggle them rather.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about our backlogs and what is on the horizon for us to play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those two games are both on your list.
They are.
I have a few games as well too that I've been really wanting to get to, and you know, I guess I'll start with God of War. You know, that's one of those games that I started, and I put it aside for the game club so that we could play BioShock Infinite together, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But I am looking forward to getting back to God of War. You know, it's a game that I don't know that it's fully hooked me in the way that it hooked so many people. I am extremely curious to see the resolution of the story. I want to know what's going on with Atreus and everything with Kratos, and I want to see that relationship continue to mature. But outside of that, like, the gameplay is good, but it hasn't like hooked me. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it's just I'm not sold. If it wasn't for the story, I probably would have dropped off the game completely.
Okay.
You know, quite honestly.
Yeah. I think I had mentioned last time that I respected that comment because there really isn't anything groundbreaking about the combat early on.
Yeah.
I think, like I said last time, you just have to stick with it, and then eventually you'll unlock more movesets and more weapons, and then Atreus will start doing different things, and that's really where the game unfolds and kind of unpacks itself. So I hope you stick with it, because I think it does get better, and the story is really good. So press on. That's probably the best advice I could give. Yeah,
I mean, I've been putting most of my experience points into Atreus because I found him to be incredibly helpful. You know, so I mean, it's been weeks since I played the game, so I couldn't tell you what I've unlocked with him, but there's quite a few things. You know, I put most of my experience points into him, and then whatever's left, I kind of trickle into Kratos. And I think it's been paying off pretty well. He's pretty self-sufficient. He's been very helpful in quite a few sticky situations. So I'm going to continue down that path with him. But yeah, like I don't know. It's just people talked about the combat like it's like revolutionary, and I don't see that.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I haven't heard anybody say that. I don't think even Zach said that, and Zach is like number one fan of this game. I think it's great combat, and it does get pretty advanced, as you can see here in some of the video clips that I can see underneath the Discord screen. But you have to really try to do that stuff. It doesn't come out easy.
Right.
You know, I feel like most games that incorporate a lot of these move sets, you have to really like hammer them out, and it's almost like memorizing combos in Tekken. You know, no one really does it.
Yeah.
And the people that do are playing in tournaments, and they make it look really good. But when you try to do it, you can't. So there's an element there of practice. Can you practice? Yeah. But generally, when you're playing this game, you're so enthralled with the story that you're unlocking moves that maybe you whip out a few times, but you're going to have some bread and butters that you're going to stick with. And outside of that, you're probably not going to mess with much else. So yeah, revolutionary combat. I don't know so much about that. You want to play it like Tekken, maybe, but this game's not, you know, we're not playing Eddie Gordo here. You know, you're playing Kratos, and in the beginning when you throw the axe and you can recall it back, sure, there's a moment where you're like, oh, that's really cool. But I can see where you're thinking, well, what else though? You know, what's beyond this?
Right.
And there is a beyond, but it does come later.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm looking forward to you know, getting back to it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So
I think it's good. I'm glad that you're going to stick with it because if you fell off now, you would be missing a pretty special experience.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, 15 to 20 hours into the game. It's, just a rough guess. I'm really bad about like finding like my actual playtime because I'm the type of gamer that will put the controller down, go do some adult shit like clean a cat box or bring the garbage out, stuff like that, and then come back and try to get back into it. So
yeah, unless there's like a definitive game counter
right.
For the time, then I'm also pretty bad at keeping track of that kind of stuff.
Yep. And if it doesn't count the pause menu, then it would be better because I know there's a lot of games that do. Let's see here. What else? So, I mean, you were going to talk about Returnal a little bit. Like, what are your expectations for that game?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. So we talked about this game before, and we were concerned about these runs that apparently everybody is saying are pretty challenging because they're anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, where if you die, I guess you get reset or something.
Mm.
And I am concerned about that, but I'm letting the visuals and the gameplay and the atmosphere just kind of supersede that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that everything that I've seen about this game so far is enough to pull me in, regardless of how difficult those runs may be. And I'm willing to take on that challenge. I'm also willing to experience this sort of roguelike game that incorporates this sort of bullet storm or bullet hell kind of experience, which I've never really dabbled with before. I actually had to research what a roguelike game was, I think, earlier last year because I hadn't heard of the genre. It's a genre that's out of my wheelhouse. So I'm excited to go into something that is a game that I pretty much wouldn't really dabble with unless it was for the way that they've marketed this game and the way that this game has pulled me in from an environmental perspective. I'm not really into sci-fi. I'm not really into aliens, and this game has a lot of that kind of stuff incorporated. And I don't know what it is, man. I think it's just the fact that it kind of reminds me of something that's like Vanquish, Bayonetta, Platinum Games-ish. It's got like a lot of those particle effects, which apparently are quite, amazing in this game. I just want to experience everything that this game is, and I don't care if it's hard. I don't care if it's infuriating. I just want to know why they're calling it a PS5 showcase game and why it's being reviewed so well.
Right. I mean, with roguelike games, they have their pros and cons, but for the most part, the genre is fairly forgiving of short time frames, like where you have like a narrow window to play. It's not uncommon for a roguelike to cater towards a crowd that maybe only has 10 to 15 minutes of game time. You get in, you play a quick run, you save your game, and then you come back to it later. So the notion that this game has runs that are 2 to 3 hours long or longer and there's no way to save is understandably frustrating to a lot of people, especially those who were expecting that out of their roguelike. And then you factor in the difficulty level of a bullet hell game, and that can be a very frustrating experience for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it certainly can. And
Housemarque has teased that they were potentially working on something to alleviate those concerns. They have not officially announced anything, but they did kind of acknowledge that people were frustrated. So it's possible that perhaps somewhere down the line they'll introduce some sort of an autosave feature. But I mean, it sounds like the game was built with the intention of operating this way. Like it wasn't an oversight, like this was the way they wanted it. This is the way they intended it. And I think there's a difference between being difficult and being punishing. And it sounds like this is punishing.
Yeah, it very well could be. I think it's also a Will's Cool game. I mean, I think that's pretty definitive. Everybody knows what that acronym is, the WCG. And I think when you look at this game, I mean, it just looks extraordinary. I mean, the way that Celine moves around is just so quick and nimble, and she's got all these cool ways of just using her little jetpack, and like everything's just so freaking bright and cool, man. And I want to experience that. And what better way to do it than on a PS5? So I think I want to own the games that I can only play on PS5, and there are two right now, this and Demon Souls, that really caught my attention. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited to start it, and I'm very excited to talk about it after I spend some time with it.
Yeah, if I had a PS5, this would be an immediate purchase for me.
Dude, it's a
I
true
mean,
game. I mean, look at
100%,
it.
100%. I mean, it's sci-fi. It's, it's got that H.R. Geiger vibe to it, Alien,
Yes.
Prometheus, that kind of stuff. But like
Yes.
everything about this game, I'm just watching the video and I'm like, I want to play it. Everything about this is up my alley.
It's almost like, how could you not? Like,
Right.
I mean, I know that's a pretty bold statement, but like when you look at the gameplay, you're just like, it's almost impossible to be like, meh, looks boring. I mean, it's just not even true. It's just not true, Drew.
Yeah, I know.
This game is the opposite of boring, and I think it's because of the fact that there's so much attention to detail on the effects of everything that you're doing. There's nothing boring about how she moves and
No.
the enemies that you're encountering. And it reminds me of that movie Live, Die, Repeat, or The Edge of Tomorrow. It's got that sort of waking up and dying, and you're kind of reliving the same experience over and over again. And even some of the enemies look very similar as well.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, I think.
These sort of tentacle-like aliens.
Yeah, there's certainly some inspiration there. Has to be,
Has to be, yeah. And I think we discussed that before, and if that's the case, then I would not be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Another game that I'm really looking forward to diving into, once and for all, is the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was released as a free game to PSN subscribers. So I nabbed it that way. I was turned off by the demo. But I am looking forward to firing up this game and giving it a better chance because of everything that I've heard, both from you and other people. The demo really just doesn't do a good job of selling the game. It kind of doesn't give you an opportunity to get used to the intricacies of the battle system. So I really want to give that a shot, and spend some time with it and give it a proper, fair shake. And if I spend, 4 or 5 hours with it and I still don't like it, then so be it. That's fine. I didn't pay for the game. But Final Fantasy VII was one of my all-time favorites, and it's something that I really owe the franchise, in my opinion.
You just chose the right word. You definitely owe it to yourself.
Yeah.
And I would argue that anybody that's a fan of the original game needs to play this game. And if you end up not liking it, at least you did that sort of due diligence and you gave it a chance. And I think that you're really going to like it, man. I agree that, as many times we talked about the demo, some would argue that it did sell them, but I think that there's a lot of arguments to be had as to why it wouldn't sell somebody. And I think it's what I said before. You don't get to experience the combat at its full potential,
Right.
which really does come later. And when you unlock more characters, it really kind of blossoms from there. And with this new Intergrade thing that's coming to PS5, I'm pretty excited for that, man.
Yeah.
I did some more research, and from what I understand, it's to get some of the visual updates, that part is free, but to get the characters and stuff, you have to pay for that.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Unless you buy the full game.
Right. I mean, it's flat out DLC. So
yeah, it's just DLC.
But upgrade aside, like that's a separate thing. But like you're getting a whole new story for, a character that wasn't as well developed in the original game,
No, yeah, Yuffie and I forget the other character that they're introducing. I think it's somebody new.
Yeah, it is.
But everybody's, excited for Yuffie. And yeah, like you said, the original, you find her in the woods. You're in your little world buggy and you're trying to drive around. You're like, where the fuck is she? The guide says that it's in this little patch. And then all of a sudden she just kind of pops up. So yeah, it's cool to see her. She looks a little redesigned and that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think this is a great choice for you. I think that you're really going to enjoy it, and Tifa is a blast to play with.
Yeah. All right. So what's next for you, man?
I'd like to get back to Gravity Rush as well. Gravity Rush 2. It was a game that I was playing pretty consistently before the whole move thing happened. And I'd like to get back to that. I don't want to fall off of it. I've mentioned it so many times, but this is a spectacular game, and there was even a reference that I found after I went back and played Astro's Playroom. There was an actual Astro dressed as Cat, like doing gravity stuff, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god, I love this game!" But yeah, no, I really want to get back to it, dude. I mean, look at this game, and it just the cell shading kind of animation and all that kind of stuff. It's such a visual treat to play, and the gameplay is terrific. I know Joe is a pretty big fan, and Bree as well, and for good reason. It's an excellent game. It's very unique.
I have a copy,
even though it's on the PS. You do have a copy.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I'm very curious to spend some time with this as well.
Yeah, it's wholly original, and I think that's what was really a big selling point for me and kept me going with it. So
Hmm.
I'll be playing it on the PS5, of course, and if there's no visual upgrades, that's fine. Um, I want to beat it, because I'm pretty close. I think I'm almost 100% sure that I'm more than halfway through the game. So.
Hmm. Very
So
nice.
I think it'll be between this and, of course, Returnal and Demon Souls. I'm just going to stick with those three. I
Hmm.
think anything more than that's going to be overkill.
Yeah. Well, I have a list of 5. So,
You're a brave man.
well, I mean, I'm not going to be playing all 5 of these at a time, but it's just kind of like my lineup of what I want to play next, I guess you could say.
Sure. Sure.
So, I have to have Chrono Trigger in that mix, and I just bought a copy of this from Jimmy pretty recently on the Super Nintendo. The video that we're showing in the Twitch stream is of a remastered version. I believe it's either Steam or Android. I'm not 100% sure. But I just have always wanted to actually beat this game. Like, I've started it so many times. I've put in, a handful of hours, but I've never actually beaten the game. And like, I want to put the time in, and I want to get multiple endings, and I want to see what all the hubbub is about, So I'm very much looking forward to sitting down with this. I'm probably going to hook up my Super Nintendo and play it on there, and do it the old-fashioned way. I think, try to
I love it, man.
experience the way it's meant to be. I have a copy on the DS. I have a copy on the PlayStation. And people can argue for and against those being superior to the Super Nintendo. Of course, there's emulation. I could always play it on an emulator, but I think I just really want to play it the way it was designed.
I love that, man. I think that's a really good way of entering this game and experiencing it. And I think that, kind of hearkening back to our BioShock Infinite discussion, there was a moment where we said that the first BioShock was required reading.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that this game is also falls into that statement, and
Yeah.
I owe it to myself to play it, man. I've actually never played this game, so
Mm.
I really want to get to it and also see what all the hubbub is about.
If it wasn't a game that was a minimum of 30 hours or so to play, I would, recommend it, I think, for the game club, because I think it would be a lot of fun for people to experience it together and talk about the different endings and, how they accomplish those things and how their plays differed. But, it's an RPG, and it is lengthy, even if it is shorter than the current RPGs that we have nowadays. So there are drawbacks to that, and I think for a game club game, it might be a little too beefy. But
Yeah, it's an interesting. I was just going to, not to interrupt, but I
Mm.
was just going to say that's a very interesting point, because some people forget that even though it's very easy to say, oh man, games are so long now, there were some long games back in the day, man. When
Yeah.
you and I were young and FF7 came out, that was a long freaking game.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I made that longer than it needed to be, but because I
But
want,
even if you didn't,
yeah, I mean, even if I didn't, according to howlongtobeat.com, the main story for Chrono Trigger is about 23 hours. For a completionist run, it's 44 and a half hours. Now, I'm not entirely sure what a completionist run entails, whether that's multiple playthroughs or just being very thorough in your single playthrough. And then for reference, Final Fantasy VII, the original, just main story, you're looking at 36 and a half hours. Completionist is 83 hours. I had well over 100 hours on mine.
that's incredible.
So,
that is incredible.
did a
this
lot
is
of grinding.
1997 game.
Yeah. Well, I did a ton of grinding in that game. I was trying to get, the same materia for everybody. So I just kept grinding it until I was able to duplicate it, and that took a lot of time and effort, but it's an accomplishment I'm very proud of. So, let's see here. Do you have anything else on your list? Astro's Playroom?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still firing that up. Really, any chance I can get, and I always play with Lauren on the couch, which is a lot of fun. And I'm trying to collect all of the artifacts and all of the puzzle pieces for the mural in the PlayStation Labo. And I really want to see what this mural looks like. And so far, it's basically just a timeline of all the consoles. So it'll say like 2008, whatever console came out at the time, and there's a bunch of Astrobots on the wall. So it's just really kind of like an achievement hunting game, I guess, at this point, completionist sort of thing, which
Sure.
is not my steez, but it's something that I mean, the game is so fun that it's just an excuse for me to play it again. You know, it's not so much about getting everything. It's just I get to do what you see on the screen right now. Collect the coins, even though I collected them before.
Right.
There's Kratos right there with Atreus.
Oh, wow.
I think that's Kratos. Yeah, that's him.
That's cool.
He just got punched. Jesus Christ, he was attacking him. Yeah, no, this game is just such a joy to play, man. And I think that if you go onto YouTube or the internet and you just research people's reviews, they say the same thing. They're just like, this is just pure bliss. And it's such a nice, refreshing treat to experience something this fun that really has no purpose but just to unlock a PlayStation 2 controller or a PS3 controller and just look at it and store it in your little lab. It's an absolute blast, man. And like I said before, I really think it's a time machine for Sony's legacy. And I think it's great. If you're a Sony fan, you're going to love it. So this is a game that's going to be on my radar, and I really hope that there's a sequel, dude, because if there is, I'm pre-ordering it and standing in line if I have to. I'll stand in line for a digital copy.
It's just really cool to hear you talking about a game like this in those with those words and that like passion, because, you know, from everything that I know about you, this doesn't really qualify as a Will's Cool game, you know.
Absolutely not, man. This is, as you know, you just pointed out so well that this is not a typical game for me. You know, most of my games are kind of obscure and very specific, and they have to have a very certain aesthetic. And for this game, I really thought it was just going to be a giant cheese ball, and it wasn't. It felt good to just play a game that was just sheer fun. And I honestly have not had this much fun with a game in so long, and laughed and smiled like a little kid. It felt really good as almost a 36-year-old man to just have those sort of childlike feelings again and forget about everything else in the world and collect some PlayStation coins.
It's good to hear, though, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's an excellent experience, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Well, for me, another one that's on my list is Breath of the Wild. And there we go. Had to mute the audio on that. You know, Breath of the Wild is a game that I purchased a couple years back, or actually it was a Christmas gift for the Switch, and I've been wanting to play it for the longest time, and it's just been kind of sitting there just staring at me like mockingly, like, oh, you're never going to beat me. So, you know, it kind of sits side by side with all these longer games that I've already talked about, and I haven't really played anything on the Switch lately, so this is kind of tempting. You know, I'm strongly considering picking this one up and diving into it once I finish God of War, because I've been spending a lot of time on my Xbox, and, you know, I have no regrets there. The PlayStation has been my secondary system. My Switch is literally collecting dust right now, and I haven't touched it in a while. And it's not because I don't like the system. It's just been focused on other games.
Sure.
You know, so I think this is something that could really bring me back and get me back into the Switch again. And
I think so.
I've always struggled to find Zelda games that like work for me. And, you know, I don't know that this will be one of them, but I think I need to try and find out.
I think so. This seems like the Zelda that I mean, from what I understand, it's one of the most accessible Zeldas that's ever been created. And you would think that this is like, you know, top tier Zelda, like you really have to know the franchise to kind of enter this world, but, you know, with everything that's going on. But from what I, again, understand from just kind of speaking with people, it seems to be highly accessible, and a lot of people that were not Zelda fans love this game. So I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully I can get to it, you know, sometime soon. I've been backlogging this game every year since I bought it, and I talk about it every few months about how I want to get into it, and I just never like make the time for it. So I think I just need to like make a list of games and just kind of diligently stick to the order that they're in rather than kind of jumping around, which is challenging.
And I think it is challenging. It's very easy to get distracted, man. All it takes is one friend to say, hey, like, you got to try this out, or one advertisement. You can't even turn on your console anymore, whether it's an Xbox or PlayStation, without getting bombarded
well, dude,
with advertisements.
Like, Game Pass is the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to me, because I have access to all these games for no additional charge, and there's stuff there that I probably wouldn't buy, or at the very least would have waited to go on sale, that I'm able to play day one. MLB The Show is a great example of a game that I was going to buy day one, but didn't have to, right? And like I didn't have to worry about my budget because it was included in Game Pass. Breath of the Wild, it's a game that I wanted. I went out of my way to get, and it's just sitting here. So I think this is going to be the year for it.
I would entertain that venture. I'm really interested to see what you think about it because, again, you have yet to find a Zelda that you've truly fallen in love with, and it would be pretty cool to see you fall in love with this because it's. I would compare the Zelda to like the Encyclopedia Britannica series. Like it's. I know that's probably the worst thing I could ever say to convince you to play this game, but my experience with it, it's a very big Zelda adventure, and I think there's a lot of good and bad to that. But
that scares me.
What's good about it is really good from what I played, and I played on the Wii U gamepad, which was probably one of the worst ways that you could experience the game.
Yeah, I think it is.
There's no doubt.
I have one more game on my list. Did you have any others that you wanted to talk about?
Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima are definitely on there as well. I mean, these are games that I should surely get to this year. That's the goal. I was highly interested in both of those games, and I definitely owe it to myself to play Death Stranding. Coming from, or just being such a Kojima fan, to not play that game, to me is a crime. So that one, that it needs to get played this year.
Yeah. For me, I think the last thing on my list is Hades, and that's kind of a surprising one, I think, for most people, but.
Few tales.
It is
this considered a roguelike?
It is. Okay. And I think part of what's really kind of stoked my interest in it is all the buzz about Returnal. I was interested in Hades when it came out, but not enough to like go out of my way to purchase it. But, I think I'm feeling a little bit of FOMO from Returnal, and I think Hades is a good way to scratch that itch. So
I think that's pretty smart, dude. That's pretty smart.
Because they're very similar games in a lot of ways, from what I understand. Whereas Hades doesn't necessarily have the punishingly long runs. Being a roguelike game with a story, I think there's a lot that I could get from this game that I'm not going to experience until I buy a PS5.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this should be a good fill-in though. I mean, it's been on my radar. I own the game, but I just haven't really found a way to play it in an optimized way yet.
You purchased it on Steam, right?
Did, and then I had that weird discovery where I guess I had some sort of incompatible metal whatever for my iMac, and then I was able to launch it on the MacBook, but then I had issues with the controller getting that set up. So, and then on top of it, the MacBook sounded like it was going to take off to space. So I kind of just said, you know what, I should probably just like forget that this ever happened and buy it on a different console when I can. So that's probably what's going to happen. I know it's out for more now, I think, and if it is out for PS4, then I'll just scoop it up on there.
I don't believe it is on PS4.
Okay.
I think it's only on PC and Switch. But let me find out real quick.
If that's the case, then I'll probably buy it on Switch when I can get my hands on one of those.
Yeah, right. As of right now, it's only available on PC and Switch. So, But I mean, like, you should try maybe pairing up your PS5 controller with the MacBook. Because it's going to be a newer form of Bluetooth. It should be an easier process. If the MacBook sounds like it's taking off, that just means the fans are working. It's doing what it should do. As long as you don't have it on a blanket or something, you'll be fine.
I never understood people that do things like that.
Yeah. So just leave it on a desk, on a flat surface. Let the fans do what they need to do. Because that's what computers do. They sound loud when they get hot,
Yeah, no, it's true. I think I was able to get the PS3 controller connected, but not all the buttons worked that well. So I just walked around for a little bit. I was like, all right, this game looks cool. And then I turned it off.
Yeah, I suspect the compatibility will be much better with the PS5. So
yeah, I would hope so. I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah. So, I mean, both of us have a long list of games that we would like to get to. You want to take bets on how many we actually will?
I don't want to, man. I want to keep dreaming. I want to live in this dream world where I'm going to complete all these games this year. And I think it's doable for both of us, but there's going to be some pretty serious commitment that's going to have to take place.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be able to get to everything on this list, but this is my pipe dream, I think if I can just focus on playing one thing at a time, then maybe there's a chance. But I have a hard time doing that because if I'm in a mood for something, I'm not always in a mood for God of War. I'm not always in the mood for an RPG. Sometimes I just want to hit baseballs,
Yeah.
And
You and me both, man. And I think a lot of people struggle with this.
So I like having that freedom. But it comes with its own drawbacks.
It does, man. And it's like that never-ending battle. Like, do you stick with the games or do you bounce around? And I've heard arguments from both sides, and I know people that are able to bounce around and still complete games, and God bless you. But I just don't know if I have that in me. I think I'm one of those people that I have to stick to one game, because every time I do, I beat it, and I beat it quickly. So I think I'm going to stick with that route.
I've already beaten more games this year than I did last year, so I'm happy with the path I'm on so far.
Yeah, I think we both had some moments this year and last where we just had some streaks of just kind of beating games pretty consistently.
Yep. Well, I believe that brings us to the end of our episode. Did you have anything else that you wanted to discuss before we wrap things up for the night?
I apologize to everybody for the internet issues. That is quite unusual. Don't know what's going on, but knock on wood, that doesn't happen again. But yeah, I guess we're 1 for 1 now, huh? Is that what they say?
Yeah, last week was me, this week's you. So, hopefully we've both gotten this out of our system at this point. But everybody that's in the Twitch stream that stuck around, thank you. We appreciate it. Sorry for the experience. For those of you that are listening to the audio version of this, you'll never know what happened.
The secrets of editing.
Oh, goodness. I'll probably leave a lot of it in just so that the cuts don't seem quite so obvious. But
I think the second time that it happened, I might have said, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." So that might be in the audio somewhere.
Oh, God. I'll have to try to find a way to get that in there.
I think I went back and I looked for it, too. Like, I looked for the sound wave, and I'm like, it's in there somewhere.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, thank you once again to our Patreon producers. We really appreciate it. Neuromancer 9K, Last Son of Bob, Data Dive. We really appreciate you guys supporting the site. If you want to support us on Patreon, swing on by patreon.com/WDGR Podcast. $5 a month gets you access to a exclusive members only Discord room. You get access to behind the scenes photos, notes, things like that. Potential voting rights in the future for the next game that we play, or next movie that we watch, excuse me. We are watching video game movies and reviewing them in depth for the Patreon. So far, May, we had Street Fighter from 1994. In June, you're looking forward to Mortal Kombat, the one that was released just a month ago. So $5 a month, and all of your contributions go directly to helping make this podcast self-sufficient. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Well said.
Outside of that, we've got a website. It's WDGRpodcast.com. We've got a Facebook, a Twitter, and an Instagram. It's at WDGR Podcast. I've got a Twitter. It's at ScionStorm. Will, you have a SoundCloud.
I have a SoundCloud. It is soundcloud.com/Will_gear.
And I think that's going to do it for us. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.